22 years. It goes by in a flash. Some years I don't even realize this anniversary has come and gone, but on others I wake up thinking, this was the day, and today is one of those days. I had spent the day before baking for Christmas until late at night. The kids were staying with their dad. It was just me and the cats at home. My sister and her husband were coming for Christmas, and most of our celebrating would be at our parents' house. But I was also planning a New Year's Day open house and wanted to be prepared. While baking, a burner on the stove had heated up extra hot. I turned it off and it seemed to be fine, so I didn't think anything of it. When I was done, I cleaned up but left 2 cookie sheets that still needed washed on top of the stove. The pot holders hung on a hook to the side of the stove. The morning of the 23rd, I went to work as usual. It was a casual day at work, and I was chatting with coworkers in the early afternoon when the secretary told me I had an urgent phone call. It was my ex-husband. "I don't know how to tell you this," he said, "but the house is on fire, and I think it's totaled." He had taken my daughter home to pick something up and found the house full of smoke. When they opened the front door, not realizing something was wrong, the house that had been smoldering for a few hours burst into active fire, and it went up like a torch. They knocked on neighbors' doors till they found someone home who would let them use a phone to call 911. I drove home from work as quickly as possible. The sky was a clear crystalline blue, and I could see the column of smoke from my home burning from 15 miles away. It was climbing straight up into the air. It is surreal to drive up to your own home surrounded by a myriad of fire trucks, news teams flying overhead, a horde of onlookers, and know that there isn't a darn thing that you can do to change anything. The strange thing was that for years, as we would drive home, we would make the turn onto the main street into the neighborhood, and you could see our house sitting down there where the road curved. I always felt relief that it was still standing. I had the sense that something was going to happen, though I didn't know what. And here, on this day, 22 years ago, it had happened. We lost our 2 kitties, Snowball and Bobcat. My little Finn reminds me a little bit of Bob. They're similar in temperament and coloring, and they both crawl into my lap in the same way. And maybe that's what triggered the memory stream today. Our lives were now divided. There was life before the fire and life after the fire. Most of the time, I feel at peace with it. Though a difficult loss, the end result in our lives was only for the better. It was hard to see that at the time, but hindsight gives a clearer picture. But there are times, like today, when it seems fresh and new and still a big loss. The sight of a crowd of fire trucks with their lights flashing and firemen in their fire gear still makes my heart race and my stomach turn topsy-turvy. A campfire or candle burning doesn't bother me at all, but the smell of a house fire miles away can wake me out of a sound sleep. And on a still December day with clear blue skies, I find it hard to leave home for fear of coming home to find I no longer have a home. Since the fire, I haven't lived in one spot for more than 6 years. I wonder if it's because I don't want to get so attached to a home that if I lost it, it would be so terribly devastating. It wasn't losing the stuff that bothered me. It was losing my safe and comfortable nest. I no longer have the attachment to possessions that I once had. My kids were safe, and thank you, God. They weren't at home when the fire happened, or I might have lost them just like the kitties. The rest of it was just stuff, and nearly all of it was replaceable. We never did figure out exactly what started the fire. The thought was that the stove burner shorted again and turned on, and that it flashed the residue on the cookie sheets, which then caught the pot holders on fire, and thus the rest of the house. The fire smoldered in the kitchen area for a long time, according to the investigator, before roaring through the remainder of the house. Losing our home was difficult, but I've learned that I can remake that almost anywhere. I also learned that what is most important isn't the house or the stuff in it that makes it special. It's our loved ones. And mine are here in Colorado, my kids and their families and my closest friends, and in Arizona, where my sister and her husband live. I house is empty no matter how much stuff you have or how nice it is, if you don't have the people you love nearby to spend time with. I write this with little Finn cradled in my arms on my desk as I type. Mushu is looking for the mouse that moved in under the dishwasher that we haven't been able to catch. I've been able to spend time with all the grandkids this past week in fun activities. The kids are coming over on Christmas Day. It's been good to be reminded of all these things that make my heart full today. It puts the loss into perspective. The memory of the fire still carries pain and sorrow with it, but I can still enjoy this beautiful Colorado December day and know that no matter what happens, life moves on. And you know what? Life is good. Wishing you all a blessed Christmas.